It's me, Captain. My mommy is the best. Supermom, love you, best. She helps mommy get those smiles back. Go get those back. And this might go back. You wait for the straw. Watch. Get ready for that super scary, that super scrap.
Welcome to my Global Healing for the Soul podcast, sponsored by myself, Robin Stoltman. As I am America's #1 fertility and parenting mindset expert. I'm also a transformational resilience speaker, a coach and trainer for businesses and individuals. I'm also an author and a supermom of 11 biological children, having soon to be 8 C-sections in a row after overcoming infertility using my own Infertility Mindset Revolution Program I created, with this being season number 6, episode number 27. Today, I'm talking about, are you feeling overwhelmed? You want to discover simple mindset shifts to combat stress? Well, that's what we're talking about today. So in my audience, you know how I'm interacting. I would love engagement with people. By the way, I am more of a people person. God did not make me one to be on the computer and do all the fancy things, which also I'm going to remind you as well before we do get started here, along with featuring different guests every week to empower you to become the best version of yourselves through different methods you may not have heard of or even thought of. So one of the questions that one of my audience members had asked is, can I explain what this mindset means and why is it crucial for managing stress in our daily lives? Well, mindset is basically, it's another word for hypnosis. It's another word for attitude. It's another word for your behaviors, for everything that's being set up here. You know, the self-talk, those limiting beliefs that are in your head. And you pick them up from other people because when we are first born, even in the womb, they have proven through epigenetics that what we experience from in our mother's womb, what we experience, all her stress, all her anger. My God, my mom must have had a ton of stress and stuff going on. I'm just saying, I'm blunt and honest here. That's how I roll. But I'm just saying that when you think of all that stuff, that's a lot of pressure on that developing baby. And if you're like me, if at any point, you get disappointed because you didn't get the girl that you wanted after multiple times. I've only got one girl. I should specify all of that. I've only got one girl out of 8 children. You do the math, how many boys that is. Is there any reason why I'm stressed? I'm just saying, all the men, be thankful your mom kept you alive. And she did her best. I'm just saying. If they're anything like my boys are. I just have to stop and laugh about that for a moment. Because even in that mindset, that attitude of gratitude, yes, I'm happy I've got all the kids that I've got. But someday them boys, I tell you, they make me question your sanity. That's the only reason why I'm like that with my boys. So we have these things while we're pregnant. You get those stresses, you get that anger, you get all the different things in the world, and that goes into that new baby that's being created this whole time. And unfortunately, because we are not taught in school how our mind creates everything around us, we're programmed from the time of that conception, like I said, from the moment you are conceived, the sperm meets the egg, all the way up to about 8 years old, you're taking in information from everyone and anything around you. And a good majority of us learned all of our bad behaviors, our bad habits, our bad self-talk, our bad everything from those around us. And who's the one that's mostly in charge? It's the parents. And a lot of parents won't take responsibility for that because it hurts. And I get that concept. At the same time, you also, when you learn how to take responsibility as a parent, it helps your child grow. There isn't too many parents, like certainly weren't mine by any means, that would ever apologize for what they've done when I was a kid. They apologize now, but it's a little too late for any of that. It's a little too late to do some of those things that should have been done. And even at that, when you're taking the time as a parent with your child, one of the things that I don't have a problem with, I've never had problems telling my children that I'm sorry. Hey, I'm really upset about this. What can I do to help you out? Asking your children, like when you're going timeout. Timeout's a great example. I was put in timeout as a child in the corner. I never knew what it was for. So for me, that's dumb way of parenting. Let's call it what it is. Like even spanking, it's dumb to do that to your child. It does nothing good for them. They've already proven that with data, statistics, all of that. If anything, spanking, just so that you know, causes fear, manipulation. It teaches your child how to lie, steal, how to do things. It does not do respect what people think that it does. It does not do that at all whatsoever. That's why there's not a lot of high achievers. That's why there's not a lot of positive in this world. Even when parents stick their kids in timeout, they're still being dumb. When they put their kid in timeout or go to your room. Great. But what are you actually doing? You're telling the child that they need to go isolate, that they need to be by themselves, that they need to go away, and that they're not loved, they're not wanted. That's what you're teaching them in that moment. That's what their brain is engraving. And the reason why I say that is because, like, even with myself as a parent, I'm asking my kids, what can we do differently? Why do you think God gave you your hands? Do you think your hands was to go hit your brother? No, it was not. Your hands were made to go out and create, to draw, to go build, to eat. Your hands were made for other things other than doing what you wanted to do at that moment. And the reason why I'm doing that is to help my children become problem solvers. Because we need more people to solve problems in this world. When you can solve a problem for somebody else, like what I do for a living, things become better for that other person. So that's the reason why I'm like, it's dumb to put your kid in timeout just to put them in timeout, but not actually help them troubleshoot. What could you have done differently? That's a great question to ask your child. Another great thing to do that I've done is I literally have a punching bag so they can punch the punching bag, pretend like that's their brother or whatever they're mad about at that moment. So they're getting that stress out, which exercise is another form of a great way to combat the stress. And so even though it may not sound like I'm talking about simple mindset shifts and combating stress, I am very much talking about that because as a busy parent, that is one of the ways, a couple of the ways that I've already mentioned of how you can manage stress in your daily life. And I know a lot of people feel so much overwhelmed that they don't know where to begin. So some sample ideas like I gave with my kids, I'm just saying, one of the ways that I have found most beneficial with my kids, believe it or not, and it has them laugh, I'm just saying, as I stomp my feet, because sometimes as adults, we get so much in our head. We've got this, and that, and this, that, and the other thing, like my husband says, and I'm like, quit saying that we've got this, that, and the other thing, and blah, 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 and it's just like, shut up. Take a deep breath, and that's literally what I've told them, because I'm like, when you're talking about that stresses me out. And I'm like, I don't want to think of that. I just want to think, deep breathe from the abdomen, one thing at a time. Even when my brain still wants to go into that overwhelm, getting myself thinking about this, that, and the other thing, like what I just thought of for my husband. It's like, even at that, taking a time to just put your hand even on your heart and just feeling that heart beating. Just being able to feel that. And just, what is it that I really need right now? Right now, I really need some food. As an example. Right now, I just really need peace and quiet. As another example. And then finding a way to give yourself that in that moment when you're stressed. One of the things that I like to do, because the mirror is in the bathroom, so in the morning, I only see the top half. But in the morning, what I like to do, before I knew that it was considered mirror work, is I would yell at myself in the mirror. This is before I knew the power of the mind and how we create everything, because I could never figure out why my life would get so horrible. And I'm talking, this is when I still lived in Minnesota. Like, I knew that I was the problem. I just didn't know how to get out of that problem that I was in. So I specifically remember being in the bathroom at Abbott Northwestern Heart Hospital in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Like I said, I'll never forget that moment because I'd gotten interrupted by somebody, but before they came in, I'll never forget looking at myself in the mirror, just yelling at myself, being mad at myself. We got to fix this. We don't know what's going on. What is wrong with me? Like, why can't I have the life that I keep seeing? I kept seeing visions of my life. And I've seen that whole time because, yes, I am very much a visionary leader. The hardest part about being a visionary leader is leading yourself. I mean, it's hard for people in general to lead themselves because they're programmed from childhood with schools and daycares and parents telling them what to do. So it's just why people don't know how to come up with their own ideas is they need to be told what to do, even as adults, because they've been programmed that response. So even in that moment, when I think back to that and I'm like, you're the problem. You're the reason why we're having these issues. Why can't we get these things figured out? I would ask myself those questions. And at the same time, when I look back and I think back to that moment, I was asking myself the wrong questions. I was asking the why question versus the how can we change? What is it I need to do so I'm not doing this exact same thing day after day, year after year in the same situation that I do not like? Because when you change the question and how it's asked, you get a better answer, because the brain, believe it or not, well, if you ask your brain, simple question we'll ask right now. If you ask your brain, let's ask your brain all the ways that you're stupid, it'll gladly play back every dumb thing that you've ever done. It'll gladly do that. So then when you start asking yourself, what's all the good things I've done? For some people, like myself, to start, it has taken me a long time to think of all the good things that I have done. Because, like I said, generally, the way I was raised in a very much dysfunctional, we put the dis in the dysfunctional part, I'm just saying. And then I have a niece now that I'm like, thank you, Jesus. It could have been worse. Thank you for reminding me. It could have been worse. My niece is very much helping me with that right now. It could have been worse for my childhood. Paybacks are revenge for the parents that can't figure out why their kids hate them now as adults and teenagers. There's reason for that. Karma, some people call it also, but it's how you treated them when they were little. And that's what I'm going back to, is like, for this stress, is that the children around you at the time, yes, you're stressed out as an adult. I deal with it too. Believe me, it's how can I handle it differently is what makes a difference. Like for me, I love being around my kids. I love being around them more than anybody else. I'm like thinking about my husband, thinking about my mom, thinking about other people. I love being around my kids the most. They bring me the most amount of joy and happiness in this world that I get to experience. And I know not everybody feels that way as a parent, but when you've had infertility like I have, you very much feel that way if they were truly like what you had wanted in your life that you've been praying and asking God for years and years, like since childhood for. That's where I'm at on that. So when I'm thinking about like the stress and how a person can overcome it to help reduce the stress, I gave a couple examples, like when your child got to go on timeout. Help them, teach them in those moments, what can they do differently with their hands? I gave you some ideas. Get a punching bag, have them punch the crap out of that punching bag because they'll feel better. Because why? Endorphins are running to the brain and it's helping them get that aggression out they feel at that time. Adults could definitely use that technique. How many adults today cannot control their anger? It's ridiculous how many adults can't even control their own damn anger, but then they expect other people to cater to them. It doesn't work that way. And I know that things happen to people because I've very much had a lot of bad things happen in my life, way more than most people. I've never met anybody with as many problems as I've had to overcome in my life in the short amount of lifespan. But even at that, I've still found a way to keep going each and every single time. It's being able to surround yourself around the right people. Get away from the people that are bringing you down. That's one way you can definitely help your stress levels. Get away from the negative people. Get away from the people that are telling you that you can't do something. And never, ever, this is the dumbest thing that I have done, is to tell my dream to small-minded people. I'll say it again. The dumbest thing you can do is tell your dream to small-minded people. The people who are average, they're not going anywhere in life. They're happy. They're content being negative. They're happy complaining about how the rich are getting rich. And they go to a job that they hate, but they still go to it anyway because they still want money, but they go to a job that they hate because they're greedy. Just saying, that's what it truly is. When you go to a job that you hate and you show up just because of the money, that is the love of money right there in the Bible, is it not? So when we're thinking about this for the stress, I know a lot of people think that hypnosis is of the devil and all these other things. Really what it amounts down to be is that it was created as bad because there's bad people in this world. If you notice, there's even bad doctors that are now all coming out of the woodworks, of course. You get bad providers, talk therapy, if it actually helped anybody, and they've gone to it and they've done it, don't you think people's lives would be better? I seem to think they should be better and not on medications. I'm just saying the truth. If you really dive deep into the money trail of how the society is set up, the school set up 9 to 5, well, gee, how is a typical day set up for employment? 9 to 5. Kids at school, 9 to 5, an hour for lunch. Quickly eat your food, scarf it all down so you stay fat, and then you can't have a break to go eat a snack throughout the day. There's a lot of similarities in the school system, but most people don't have the time or the energy to even think of that. They just do what everybody else has done, and then they can't figure out why their life isn't changing. So with hypnosis, what that does is it allows you to start changing your mindset, to give you back the control that society has taken away from you. You want to know the biggest mind control game has been is people buying into the fact that you have to work 40 years of your life to earn $1 million. You've already earned $1 million, but within 40 years of working. Why would anybody want to do that? Sure, it is easier to be an employee. I'm not saying that it's not, because it is certainly so much easier being an employee, being told what you can do, what you can't do, when you can go to the bathroom, when you can't go to the bathroom, what you got to produce. Like, it's easier to be an employee. It just is. It's so much harder to be an entrepreneur, especially in the field that I'm in, because a lot of people, they don't understand that they are creating their realities all the time. There's a reason why I love the verses in the Bible. There's so many different verses. That's why I'm not going to give them necessarily. The most powerful one that keeps being repeated is the power of life and death is in the tongue. Smallest organ but causes the most amount of problems. I'm just saying. Smallest muscle causes the most amount of problems in your life is your tongue. And then you think about your thoughts that you think. And then you think about your emotions. You have 100% control over your emotions, over what you think about, and your beliefs. Not so much, because again, we were programmed that from conception, literally sperm and egg meet, conception, hello, to 8 years old. So when we're thinking about all those beliefs at that time that come into play, they're really hard to change. That's why even in the Bible, there's a verse, literally, train a child up the way they shall go, and when they get older, they will not depart from it. There's a reason why that exists, because you're already programmed to have the same society beliefs that everybody else has around you. And it does not change at all whatsoever until you use something like hypnosis and NLP. So hypnosis, you tell me what it is that you want, and I put those suggestions in when you're in that dreamlike state. So again, hypnosis is that dreamlike state. We all go through it. It's daydreaming, it's trance, it's mindset is another. It's also meditation, guided imagery, peak performance, mental rehearsal, visualization techniques. There's 20 different things for the exact same thing. Your imagination, that's what it is. And a lot of people say, I can't imagine. Well, you're certainly imagining the life you don't want, so you get to fight for whatever you want to keep fighting for. Well, I don't have an imagination. Well, great, because you're imagining the life that you do not want. So in using hypnosis, you give me the suggestions that you want. So the best way I get anybody to be quiet, I'm just saying, it's sad but true, and people don't get asked this, is how would you rather feel instead? I'll just let them talk. Another question that I love to ask is, besides how would you rather feel instead, is what do you want? Ever thought about like what you want? That's a way to get the longest silence out of anybody, because people generally don't ask somebody what they really want. What do they truly want? When you start asking those questions, you start getting different answers, like I had said in this. So some of those questions, like I just asked, you can ask yourself those questions and really start diving deep into who you are. Because hypnosis is extremely powerful for a reason, because it changes your belief system, what you want to believe. So if you want to believe that you are a millionaire, for example, you can do it. Why do you think people that are at the top, that have all the money in this world, that are the celebrities, that are out doing the things that you're not doing, why do you think they're able to do it? It's because they were able to program their mind to be different, to not think like everybody else. So for those of you who may be skeptical about hypnosis and how it works and why it's so powerful, I'm more than happy to set up a time, which you can get that link also at the bottom of this episode, for a consult to help you out if it's something that you really want to be able to change your mindset on, be able to change those beliefs, those habits, those bad things, like I said, that we learn as a child that no longer serve us as an adult, like people pleasing. I used to be a huge people pleaser. I'm not anymore. And I've never been one to sugarcoat, so that's not going to change. I don't like to sugarcoat nothing. If you haven't figured it out by now, not just listening to my podcast, but any of my posts, you pretty much figured out that I'm not one that sits there and sugarcoats anything, because I know you call a spade, and when the truth hurts, like what it's done to me before, it's a reason and it's a sign that we need to change something within ourselves, which, again, if you change your thoughts, you can change your life, which is also why I said your thoughts, yes, you have 100% control over. Your emotions, yes, 100% control over. Where does all of this come from? It simply comes from the subconscious mind. And that's simply what hypnosis does, is it gets what you want to have happen in your life into alignment with the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind runs your entire life. That's why so many people are like, oh, I have control of my life. No, you don't. Because if you could do something, you would already have done it by now. It's called your comfort zone. And that's the easiest way actually to explain the subconscious mind, is that that's your comfort zone. Because you're comfortable with the garbage around you. And when you're not comfortable with the garbage around you anymore, your brain's like, oh, all of a sudden I woke up one day and I'm fat. Really? You didn't wake up one day and all of a sudden you're fat. You didn't wake up one day and all of a sudden you're stressed out. You've been dealing with it your whole life. The problem is that it was all normal to you until something so drastic changed in your life that all of a sudden you don't like it. And your subconscious mind is like, hey, there's a change going on. And then all of a sudden your conscious mind's like, oh, I don't want this anymore. So then the subconscious mind and the conscious mind go back and fight each other. Well, the subconscious mind is going to win every time. That's why with even stress, when you're you're dealing with the overwhelm, you're dealing with these things. Like I said, my husband, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, just stop, take a deep breath, stomp your feet, deep breathe from the abdomen. And so when people want to sit there and say different things about hypnosis, really what it is it's the best way to help yourself relieve stress. It's equivalent to 8 hours of sleep. Just an FYI, that's why I take a hypno nap every day. Because that's the only way I can make it with all the kids. All you need is 5 minutes, close your eyes. And it's amazing because you can do self-hypnosis on yourself, because actually you're doing self-hypnosis on yourself when you're telling yourself how dumb you are, how stupid you are, how you'll never amount to things. Why can't you make things work? That's all self-hypnosis, because you're talking to yourself. It's that self-talk. And being able to change that, you can reframe it to, you know what? I used to be that way, and now I'm changing it to, I am smart, I'm amazing. So just so everybody knows, once a month, I always have an upcoming webinar once a month. That'll also be tied to the bottom of this episode as well, where I'm going to be talking about like mindset techniques, being able to do stress relief, stress reduction, parenting. I'm going to be having this upcoming webinars, like I said, once a month, every month for those webinars. And then for those of you who really want to dive deep into something that would help you out during the week, 3 times a week, I have it. Pocket coaching is what I've termed this as. But there'll be not daily, but 3 times a week emails sent to your inbox to help you become the best version of yourself. Again, that's the reason why I started this podcast back, is really because it's about helping other people succeed in this world. Because when you help enough people succeed in this world, it will come back to you. And for those who are not open or interested in helping others succeed, I don't want to even talk to you. I'm not being mean. I'm just giving you the best advice. If you are not interested in helping another person succeed, or if you're the type of person that get angry because there's rich people that are richer than you hate rich people, you want to stay away from this, from some of that stuff. If you purposely have thoughts of avoiding rich people, you have thoughts that are that way of you don't like children, stay away from me. I'm helping you by telling you that in a loving way, the most loving way that I can, because it won't work for us to work together. Because I'm here for the people who really truly want to succeed and want others to succeed. I'm truly here for those who want to have children instead of just hating and thinking that they're a burden, because that's one of the things that irritate me with some of the people, is that actually still irritates me to this day, especially even after overcoming infertility, is people who sit there and say that children are a burden or that children are expensive. Seriously, have you thought of your bills as an adult? Like, it just, one of those things, and as a person who's had infertility, I still struggle with those same thoughts, because I've chosen not to work on those, simply because you can see and feel more of that. I have real life experience with it. That's why I'm able to pick out the ads from people who are just selling you gimmicks and selling you a bunch of crap, versus people like myself who've actually had the experience. There's people who have had the lived experience like myself, and then there's people who are just like, oh, thank God that's not me. I've never gone through that experience, but they won't tell you that. That's why I'm like, seriously, if you're ones that don't want to see the best in other people, I don't care how much money you have, you're not for me. I'm not about that. It's what's best for you and your interest in helping you become the best version of yourself. Again, I want to make sure that everybody knows to subscribe and share the Healing for the Soul podcast with everyone that you know. I encourage you to follow myself, Robin Stoltman, on social media. And thank you for your time and energy while listening to today's maybe spicy, controversial episode of Healing for the Soul podcast. There's a reason why my mom always said, well, you're Robin, you'll get what you want. Damn straight, because I want to help people succeed. So go out there and have a great day. And in the meantime, if you want some help, contact that link at the bottom of below here, or if you're on video, you can see my websites to go to.
That's all for now, folks. Make sure you submit to get you for fun. Tap that follow button. Subscribe. Quack, quack. Bye-bye. Well, next time. Now you got it.